Okay, the simming is done now. It took 13 minutes and 3 seconds precisely. That's incredibly fast for such high quality sim. Now I'm just gonna, it's still flip booking, but I'm gonna just run it through now. There you go. That's the end result. Okay, so we're gonna move on, but before that, as I mentioned previously, these files are available for purchase. Please support me by purchasing the file. I want to point out one thing is that when I originally released Axiom's, Realistic Fire, it was only £2, and now it's sitting at £6. And the reason is because the more files I add, the higher the value goes. However, if you purchase this file at £2, all of the updates are for free. Basically, the sooner you purchase, the better, because you will get a better deal. Okay, so I will leave a link in the description for this as well, so please have a look at it. All right, so let's move on. And the following setup from this on, which is the rendering part, is going to be slightly different. If you already purchased the files and you looked at those, it'll be slightly different setup here. Okay, but the result will be the same. It'll be just slightly different setup. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and close this one, or stop this one at least, okay, because I don't need it anymore, and I'm gonna close this one. All right, good. So there it is. Looks pretty good, I think. And you see that it's being cut out here, and that's because of this box. Okay, I'm going to ignore that for now. You can set it up later, and the original file will be available as well on the on Gumroad. Anyway, I'll call this tutorial file. All right, good. So let's move on. So what do we need to render this? Okay, so by the way, I enabled load from disk. Okay, so I'm just going to create a GeoNode here, and I'm going to call this, let's see, render rubber toy. Actually, render rubber toy. Okay, and I'm going to go inside object merge, and I'm going to create a null here, and out rub toy, maybe. Oops. Okay, and I'm gonna bring that across into this object. Okay, so we've got this one, and then I'm going to create another geo. This one is going to be for our box. Okay, so this will be null, and I will say this is connected to that, and I'm going to say out box, and I'm just going to copy this render box, and in here I'm just going to drag and drop this so we can see that more. All right, that's good. Finally, I'm going to create a grid. Okay, perfect. And I'm going to dive inside, and I'm just going to extend this, I suppose. Yeah. Well, okay, actually, just this side. Okay, good. And I'm just going to bring this like that. Yeah, that's fine. And I'm going to press S and select points. And I'm going to go and select these points. And I'm going to press T to pull them up. Okay, so that it covers the background. All right. But in grid, I'm going to change the primitive type to NURBS. And by default, NURBS will not render in Redshift. So you need to put in a convert node here to convert it back to polygons. All right. So that's all set up now. I'm going to go to out, and I'm going to go to Redshift and create Redshift ROP node. Just going to drag and drop that. Okay, good. That's fine. and I'm going to go into material. I'm going to get rid of that flames, and I'm going to create an RS material builder, and I'm going to call this RS Fire, I suppose. And where is this? Okay, I'm going to get rid of that, and we need to also create another one called render. Just press and hold. Okay. I'm going to create render fire. Okay. I'm going to go back, and I'm going to say no out fire. Okay, good. Inside of render fire, I'm going to drag and drop this one, and I'm going to create a material node here, and I'm going to control click. So that is the render. So that is the render. Okay, so I'm going to go into material. I'm going to grab and drop that. Okay, perfect. That looks good. Finally, I want to enable, going to render sampling, I want to enable velocity blur for them because obviously we want to calculate velocity blur. Okay, so if you go into Fire, you can see velocities here, which is good, so we can make use of that. And in rubber toy as well, you will see there is no velocity. Okay, fine. So what we do need is it to come from here instead. That way we have velocity. Yep, there you go. There's the velocity. Perfect. All right, good. I'm just gonna get rid of that. All right, good. Now, if I were to, okay, I actually need to put in more stuff here. Okay, let me just try and click on render here. Okay, for a second. Let me choose 48. Yes, I think okay. So render view. Failed to get ACSG. All right, doesn't matter. All right, that's okay. It's okay. It's gonna work. It's fine. All right, that's fine. I'm just gonna go into out, and I'm gonna set up some stuff. What is this? All right, that's fine. We'll address that shortly. If there is a problem here, then we'll address that. All right. So I'm gonna go into Redshift and global illumination. Gonna change it to brute force and irradiance point cloud. So save, refresh. That's looking good. Currently there are no lights. Okay, so it's just using a default headlamp. But I also can see that there are reflections coming off here. So what I want to do is I want to create another RS material builder here. And I'm going to say RS, I don't know, metal, something like that. It's going to be the same for this and that. Okay, I'm not going to bother doing it else otherwise. So I'm just going to call this lead. Okay, and I'm going to dive inside a rubber toy. I'm going to make them all metal, really. Material, and I'm going to drop that here. There you go. You can see, and then it's the same. So I'm just going to copy that to box, and then I'm going to copy that to the grid as well. So everything is basically the same. You know, we can look at aesthetics later, I suppose. So what is happening with the fire? What is this? Cooking error. Oh, okay. What's happening? Oh, that's all right. It originally had an error, but not anymore. That's fine. What's happening with fire? There's nothing showing up. That's because this is wrong. We need to connect RS volume. Okay. And remember, this is already a VDB. Okay. If you look at the fire, it's actually VDB. All right. So because you can see here, 3 VDBs. Okay. So that's fine. So I'm going to connect this to volume. Okay, so nothing is showing up. That's fine. Okay, so the important part here is I'm gonna just leave all of these at default and go to straight to emission. Here, I'm gonna type in temperature for this, and let's click on that. Okay, there's something is showing up, which is good, And let me see, I want to change this emission ramp, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into laboratory, not that one, sorry, AXIOM setup. Plus don't do that. I'm going to go in here and I'm going to copy this fire ramp, not that one actually, the scatter ramp. They changed it. All right, how about that? All right, never mind. I'm going to copy this and I'm going to paste the values here. And you can see that shows up. That is pretty good. If you were to not install ASS color space, you will not see this. Your colors will be completely different. Okay, so it's imperative you install ASS. If not, it's not going to work. All right, that's good. So if I look at, let me see. Yeah, that's fine. Actually, it's all right, I guess. Yeah, you see here. There it is. All right. So it says view transform. It's sRGB ASS, and if I change it to Rec 709, it looks different. I'm going to leave it at sRGB, but you can see that all of this changes. So definitely it's working. Although it threw an error earlier, it is definitely working. So I'm not sure why that is. It's throwing an error. But anyway, let's start coloring this. Okay. So first one is this one here, and I want to leave it at black. That's fine. Next one is I want to set up another one here at 0.25, and I want to color this sort of a like that kind of color. You know, I'm going to adjust that shortly. Okay. Let's see, 0.150 maybe, 1.5, and then 0.5 here. Oops, that looks crazy. And then 0.015. How about that? Sorry, this should be 0.05. Okay, yeah, that's fine. And I want to create another one here at 0.75. And I'm going to call this 0.95 because I know these values because I know that's what worked previously. And that's why I'm just, bringing that across. And then this will be 0.3. And this will be about 0.1, something like that. All right, and I think that looks pretty good. Okay, so this one, I want to change it to Calumet ROM, and the same for everything, because it then blends in properly. Okay, so looking pretty good. Right, finally, I want to increase the scale to 10. Bam. Things look a lot more promising, I suppose. If you want to change anything, obviously you can change it here. Like if I copy this across and say, right, I want a grid to be different, I can just go into there and just change this to grid and bring the grid to, I don't know, iron or something, or even leave it at lead and just bring the reflection weight to 0. Then it's just going to look awkward, I suppose. But anyway, so those are options you got. So that's fine. I'm just going to go back into. I'm going to go back into Fire, and I'm going to start working on the advanced side. Okay, here. So all I want to change. There's only one thing I want to change here, right? And that's the new maximum. Okay, I want to change it to 4. So there's a lot more, power to it, I suppose. Right. So far, all of this is without any lights being present. Okay, which is fine because this is creating light by itself, so you don't really need anything else. But if you want, you can add. I'm just going to take a screenshot of that. Get rid of it. If you want, you can add a dome light, but because now you're using ACES color space, you should have converted your HDRs to ACES. All right, that's why I didn't use it earlier. But anyway, I'm gonna put that in. I'm gonna render both ways. One is with the light and one without the light. I suppose. Okay, fine, no worries. I'll do it. Right, there you go. Just moonlit golf. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Let me see if I can see it here, actually. I'm just going to call this render grid. The reason I call these render is because there's a practice that I copied from Stephen Nipping. Okay, if I go to objects, I'll just get rid of candidate objects, and I'm just going to choose in render asterisk. Okay, that's basically will force all of the renders to render at the same time. So there that is, and I'm gonna click on render now. So you can see, obviously the light has come into play, but it hasn't really made a significant difference to the fire itself. And I think I originally set it up at 225. This particular one, maybe not. I don't know. But you could tell the huge difference. But anyway, so I'm gonna get rid of that. I'm gonna try. So I'm gonna move this light around a little bit so I don't see that thing. Yeah, sort of that. I think that's okay. Now, if you look at this and that, it's not really a lot of difference between the two. So as I said, you can. Oh, I forgot. Actually, before I say that, in fact, I need to change this to 1. Volume contribution to 1. Otherwise, you won't really see anything anyway. So, because this is fire, you don't really need this, and that's why I said you don't need to purchase the converter or look at the other tutorials. All right. So I'm actually happy enough for to render this without any lights in the scene. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and disable this, and I'm going to render it, and I'll come back. Oh, actually, before I do that, I'm just gonna do one more thing. All right, so get rid of that, and I'm gonna go disable rendering, and I'm gonna go into this here, and I want to. Usually, I enable photographic exposure, but I'm not gonna do it this time. All right, because I don't want to. That does look nice, but I don't want to. But I do want to add bloom. All right, this is gonna make a huge difference to our file. So I think default is fine. What else? What about flare? I think maybe it's too much. Maybe I'll decrease the intensity to 0.05. Yeah. Yeah, you could tell the flare is over there. Maybe I need to change this to 0.02. Yeah, that's pretty good. Without it, with it, yeah, just a little bit something. And that one, not very good. I don't like it. This one's so much better. All right, good. Okay. So I've set all this up now. So I'm going to go ahead and render this, and I'll come back. Okay, the rendering is now done. I ended up doing 3 renders at the end. So this is the first one. I think it looks pretty amazing, except for the noise and the circular pattern here, you see, okay? And that is because, let me see, okay, that is because I accidentally left the sync source shape in sphere, okay? I changed it to box, and then I rendered another one, and that's the third one. So here's the second render. Again, it looks pretty amazing, except for the fact that it gets cut out here because the box was too small and it was clipping. Okay, so that's why I had to do the third render. So the third render is, where is it? This one here. Third and final render. Okay, here everything looks wonderful, except for the noise here. To reduce the noise, you need to go into REDSHIFT and increase the max samples, okay, and possibly global illumination. But the GI, I don't think it makes any difference because there are no lights in our scene, okay. Anyway, so that's the end of part 1 of this tutorial. I hope you liked it, and I hope it helps. If it did, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe, share, comment, and do not forget to click on the bell icon for notifications. I'll see you in part 2. Thank you.